Okay, hello, hello. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Just gonna give it a minute here to refresh. If you're on live, say hi, let me know that you're here. I'm super excited about this topic. Super excited. I mean, I probably say that every week, but I'm really excited about this topic because it's something that I have really had to work through myself over the years. Okay, looks like I am live. If you're here with me, say hello. Let me know that you're here. And today we're talking about should you have a side gig? And I think there's so much in this. We'll see how it goes, and we'll see what questions you have. It may become like some of the other ones. It may become a series, maybe more than we may have to do a part 2. But we'll see how it goes. I have a lot to say about it. I have a lot of passion for this topic. And I think it's something that so many people, this is a question people ask themselves on the regular. So hopefully this will be helpful for you. Let's see. It looks like there's a couple people live. Say hi, let me know who's on. And I also want to just give you a chance. I'm just going to go in here so I can see the comments. I'm going to give you a chance too, for those of you who are joining live. I would really love to know what specific questions you have. If you're on live, you get the benefit of getting some coaching if I can, if it's relevant as we go through. So if you have a question for your business, if you've been asking yourself this question, should I have a side gig? Or if you're struggling with it in some way, then please share your question. The other thing I want to ask is if you have a belief system, whether it feels like a positive, supportive belief system or a limiting belief system that you've noticed around the idea of having a side gig, whether you have one or not. Are you judging it? You know, do you think it's a good thing? Do you think it's a bad thing? I'd love to know what you think, good, bad, or otherwise. I'd love to know what you think because I will address as much of those comments and questions as I can today. And I'm also wondering, and I have a little bit of a hypothesis that some of the myths that I have in my notes to discuss might also be some of the belief systems that you have. So again, let me know if you have any questions. I'm just going to check here on the comments, say hello if you're live. And like I said, if you have a question or a comment or something that you've been challenged with around having a side gig, let me know, especially if you're live here. Okay, so I'm going to get started. And I think the first thing to do I just want to define what I mean by having a side gig, because I think I don't want you to take me too literally. For me, the way that I'm defining it is pretty broadly. It can be a side hustle or a side gig. That's, I think, the term that a lot of people use to mean that you're an entrepreneur or you have a creative career or business. I work with actors and writers as well. So this isn't limited to business owners and artists. But I would argue that an artist has a business too. But so if you have your business or your career and you're considering, or you do something on the side, in addition to, this isn't about passive income streams. This is an additional active income stream, like something that you do that takes your time and your energy that brings in money that's different from your business. Some people have a full-time job, like a regular old in the box 9-to-5 job, and do their business as well. Okay, so for me, that's still a side gig for the purpose of this conversation, just to give it a blanket category or term. So a side gig, a full-time job, a side hustle, any additional source of income that requires your effort and your time on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Okay, I'm just going to make sure. Okay, Looks like Alice is live. Let me know, guys, if there's anything. I'm just having a hesitation because usually I have a bunch of comments by now. So I'm going to keep going. If there's a problem with the technology, I'm going to assume that you guys will let me know. Okay. So, okay, here's the comment. Okay. Now we know we're working. Good. Hi, Alice. Okay. Thank you, my dear. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So that's the definition. The definition for this, for side gig is pretty broad, right? Some other version of income coming in. And then I'm going to start talking first about what I think people, the myths that I think people have around this. But I also want you to get really, really open-minded to what of this applies to you. And also, I often find that when we discuss myths around a certain part of business or even life, you start to realize that you might not have that belief system around side gigs, but you might have that belief system around something else. So just, I think the way that my coach says, the way we approach one thing is the way we approach another, right? Or everything. And so I think that oftentimes the way that we learn about a belief system in one area of our life, or our business, we might then realize, oh, this is how I handle my relationships with men, or this is how I handle money in general, or this is how I am with my mom, whatever it is, right? I'm totally making stuff up. But just think about that, just sort of one other like side note as you're talking, because for some of you, having a side gig may not be relevant. Yes, totally. Alice is an archery coach on the side of her web design business. Exactly. And Alice, you're like sort of a unicorn because you have two very deeply personal and passionately driven sources of income. And what I find for most people is they have one and it's their business, right? Or their creative career. And they're only doing the other until they can make enough money in their other thing to be primary or to be on its own, to fly by itself, right? But I think Alice is such a great example of like, what do I say all the time? Anything is possible. Anything is possible, and you get to create your own career, your own business, your own everything, and make it the way you want. Alice is an athlete. Alice is an archer, and she's a web designer. And if you gave her all the money in the world, I'm pretty sure she would still choose to do both. So, you know, it's who she is. It's how she serves the world. It's how she gets fulfilled, right? So actually, this is a great, thank you, really good segue. Yes, you are. You're a special unicorn, Alice. Hi, Allison. I've got the Alice and the Allison one today. I love it. So, Allison, if you have questions or comments or belief systems that you know that you have around having a side gig, feel free to pop them in here, and I will try to incorporate your thoughts, feedback, concerns, anything you need coaching around. I'll try to incorporate that into today's call. Okay, so I think the first myth, and let me just also back up and say, before I jump into all of this, should you have a side gig, like the nuts and the meat and potatoes of it, the nuts and the meat, I don't know, that sounds dirty. I think I wanna say, let me go back to, for those of you who don't know me, one of my biggest guiding principles for running my business and the way that I coach my clients is that you have the ability to create a business on your own terms and to run that business on your own terms. So if you're looking for a formula, 2 + 2 = 4, you should have a side gig. 2 - 2 = 0, you shouldn't have a side gig. I'm not going to give you that formula. I don't believe there is a formula in business, just like I don't believe there's a formula in life. I coach my clients and I run my business in a way that makes the most sense to you, to the business owner, to the business, to the unique business itself. Does this mean we recreate the wheel and we don't use tried and true practices for marketing, for example? No. There are millions of strategies and millions of ways to go out to market your services, but you have to choose the one that makes the most sense to you and to your business, and for you and for your business. And so that's one of the things that I am always preaching, and today will be no different. So my answer to should you get a side gig, the true answer is not yes or no. It's, well, it depends on what's best for you. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today is how do you know what's best for you? Here's some ideas. Okay. So the first myth that I want to smash that I struggled with as well, and I started my business with side gigs. So I am actually a big supporter of side gigs, but that doesn't mean that I believe it's the right decision for everyone. So I've coached people to quit their side gigs. I've coached people to have a side gig. So one that I held for a very, very, very long time was, if I get a side gig, it's going to suck. I'm going to hate it. It's going to be work. I love my business. It doesn't feel like work. But if I get some side gig, it's going to suck. I'm going to hate it. It's going to feel like work. I'm not going to enjoy it. And it's going to pull all my energy into focusing on that, or it's going to disperse my energy into focusing on that and trying to figure out also how to balance my business. And then I'm never going to get my business up and running, and I'm committed to getting my business up and running. So I just can't do it because it's going to suck ass, basically. That's the myth that I want to, I'm cursing all over the place today. That's the myth that I want to break. Okay. So again, what I said a minute ago, let's get really super open-minded about what a side gig needs to be. And it's going to be different for everyone. And I also have people say, and the reason I called this get a side gig, not get a job, is a lot of people can never, ever, ever, and I am still one of these people, will never and can never go back to a 9-to-5 job, or never had one to begin with and are committed to not doing that. Okay. So a side gig in the definition for today might mean a 9-to-5 job, but for most people it doesn't, right? There are we're in the gig economy right now, right? There are millions of freelancers out there. I think COVID probably added to that trend. That's what most people are talking about when they think about a side gig. And I think so many times the decision I had to make for myself, I didn't even think about getting a side gig at the very beginning. It was like, well, I either can go back to my corporate career, which I burned out of and ruined and was soul crushing by the end because it wasn't right for me, not because there was something wrong with corporate. It was something wrong with the fit. And so there was a point in time where it was like, well, am I going to start my own business or go back to corporate? And the truth is there is a hybrid option, which is start your own business and have a side gig to help you financially. Okay. So what your side gig is, it can run the gamut. It doesn't have to mean you go back to your old corporate career. It doesn't have to mean you take what you can get and find something that sucks, right? And it doesn't have to mean that you have to do work that is equal to your skills and your intelligence level and your like gifts. You don't have to do that, right? Like I was really good at my old corporate career and I could have said, okay, I'm not going back to a 9-to-5 job, but I'm going to do consulting. I was a business consultant, change management consultant. I could have said, I'm going to do that on the side. I'm going to pick up a small project at a time, right? And then technically that would have been on the side and it would have been a side gig, freelance position, and it would have been sporadic hours, but I couldn't bring myself to do that work anymore. I'd already left that work. So what I did is I started doing totally different stuff. I had at one point, I think 5 jobs, which I don't recommend. But they just sort of started building each other. And I actually started some of them before I decided to start my business when I was still in hypnotherapy school. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do. So I was really just doing them for a little while till I figured out my life. And then I was like, oh, I'll keep some of these while I open my business and continue. But my favorite job, fun fact about me, is I was a dog walker. I was a pet sitter. Okay, I'm a huge animal fan. I'm an animal lover. Like I geek out about animals. If you go to my personal Facebook page, all you see is my cats. I'm a scuba diver. I'm always underwater not playing with fish, but looking at fish, and we don't touch them. And walking dogs every day gave me a chance to get outside, gave me a chance to hang out in San Francisco where I lived at the time. to get some animal therapy for myself. I was going through a personal transition, and never underestimate the therapy of a dog or a pet or any sort of animal, even if it's not yours. And it broke up my day. So like I would have maybe a hypnotherapy client in the morning, I'd go walk the dogs at lunchtime, and then I'd come back and maybe, work on my social media or create my website or whatever, right? Or have a client in the afternoon, and it broke up my day. It gave me a chance to get my energy into a different space. It was great. It paid okay. Was it the best use of my skills and my talents? No, but that wasn't the point, right? The point of it was, I just need something else to do that brings in a little money, so that I don't have to put all this pressure on my business to, from day one, make me enough money to live and survive in San Francisco, and by the way, I lived by myself for the majority of the time I was there. So, that was how I put the pieces together of my life. So get open-minded about what it is. There's Fiverr, there's Upwork, there's, what's the other one? Oh, Amazon has been blowing up lately. Because of COVID, their levels of delivery are high. Other companies that do delivery services are high. Those are really easy, flexible jobs that you can do whenever, that you can do on the side. Like, this is not about having some glamorous, prestigious job. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. And it doesn't have to be something you don't like. If you don't like animals, please, God, don't go walk animals, right? And if you hate to drive, don't be a delivery person. Before COVID, I would have said waiting tables is a really good option, but people may not be comfortable with that now. And I think there's a lot of waiters and waitresses out of work, so I don't know how available that is. But my point is, can you see how it's really easy to tell yourself that if I do this, it's going to suck and I'm not going to enjoy it, and I have to do something that is of my, fancy resume from before. And no, you can just do something that kind of sounds fun. Like, I had a friend, what did she do? She helped elderly people. She was sort of like, I don't know, like not a personal assistant, but she helped elderly people. She went to the store for them, went to buy the groceries. She would do light cleaning. She would make sure they had not a caretaker, because the people had their own nurses, but just sort of a hey, I can't run around the town and do my life. Can you pick up my prescription and, take off the childcare lock and organize the stuff in my fridge, or whatever it was. Is it glamorous? No. Was it an opportunity to care for somebody else and to do something that didn't require too much brain power? Yes. And then did she have the energy to go back home and do her business? Yes. So be really open-minded about what it is. Yeah, Alice says she can't do a 9-to-5. She did it for a month, got laid off, and never want to go back. Yeah, I mean, it's not for everybody. And I did it for a very long time, and it wasn't for me either. Okay, so here's my favorite myth. I just felt like I needed to talk about that one, because so oftentimes people say, well, I can't go get a job, or I can't go do something else that I don't want to do. And having a side gig doesn't mean you're doing something you don't want to do. So get really open-minded about what it is. The other thing I want to say, the other myth I'd like to break, and I see this all the time. I felt like this for myself for a very long time in my business. By the way, I'll probably share more details about my story of how I started my business, but I did not, my original plan was to leave corporate, dye my hair purple. Well, first I was going to turn 40, and I was going to leave corporate all in the same month. Turn 40, dye my hair purple, leave corporate, and start my own business. That was my plan for several years. And then 2 months after I turned 40, I got laid off. And I had no idea what I wanted to do. And so I actually started my business in a mountain of debt, because I was out of work for quite a while trying to figure out what was next. So like I said, I actually had what I would now consider side gigs. I had side gigs for a while, but they were my primary gig for a while, because I did not know what I wanted to do next. And I was committed to not going back to corporate, Alice. So one of the things that I told myself over and over and over again, and I hear this from some of my clients too, is that if I go have a side gig, I'll be selling out. Or if I go to get even a full-time job, I'll be selling out. And I think the opposite is true. Yes, I think some people choose to sell out and decide that they failed, and they go get a 9-to-5 or a corporate job or some other job that they think will bring them money because they don't think their business can bring them money. Okay. But that's not because of the side gig. That's because they decided it's not going to work. And that's completely different. Let me know if that doesn't make sense, because if you hear nothing else I say, I actually feel like that's probably the most important thing that I've said in the last 20 minutes. Having a side gig isn't selling out. Selling out is selling out. And let's be honest, selling out and like deciding you're not going to do your business isn't actually selling out. It's just making a decision for your life. That's all it is. Like, let's not judge people who make that decision. Because I actually know several people who have made that decision, many people who've made that decision in the last 4 years, and it was the right decision for them. They weren't ready to do the work that they had set out to do. Okay, that's resonating for somebody because my nose is itching again. So let's be very non-judgmental of people who sell out, because selling out isn't really selling out. But if you do choose to go the side gig route, you aren't selling out. In fact, I want to offer the exact opposite opinion. I find that if your business isn't making enough money, however you decide that is, for you to feel comfortable, right? Like whatever it is, if it's not paying the bills, or if it's paying the bills, or if it's barely paying the bills plus a little bit more, and that's not comfortable for you, or even if you need $3 grand more than paying the bills, or 15 grand more than paying the bills, whatever that is for you to feel that you can 100% focus on your business, whatever you need. Okay, so whatever that threshold is for you. If you don't have that threshold yet in your business, and I'm emphasizing the word yet, because you can make money doing anything you want. And that's the belief that I have. That's why I have my own business. That's why I coach entrepreneurs, because I believe that if you're doing work that you're meant to be doing, then you're going to make money out of it. Will it happen overnight? No, maybe not. Most often not. And I'm a very, very positive person that I think we have to like not wait for magic, right? I've seen a lot of people make money really quickly starting out, but that's not true for everybody. And so it's not fair to put that on anyone or on your business. So I think that when you decide that you don't have yet the money that makes you comfortable from this business or from this creative career you've chosen, that getting a side gig is actually the opposite of selling out. It's a deeper level of commitment to the vision of where you want to go and the mission that you have in the way that you want to serve the world. Can you flip that whole thing on its head? Like, it's not selling out. It's actually a deeper level of commitment to your business. Because what you're saying is, I heard an actress say this recently, and I loved it. I know that I'm meant to be an actress, and I know that this is my work in the world, and I do not want to do anything else. And I am so deeply committed to this line of work that I will wait tables if I have to until I can pay my bills and until I can do this work full time, full force, the way that I want to. I'm so committed to this business that in order to get there, if I have to do something that looks like a detour, which isn't, it's really a thing that supports you to getting to where you want. So I'm so committed to my business being my primary source of income and bringing me more income than I could ever imagine, this abundant source of income, doing work that I love, serving the world in the way that only I can, have all this deep fulfillment. I'm so committed to that vision that I will do whatever it takes, ethics aside, and assuming that you don't have to do something that you don't want to do, I will do whatever it takes to get there. I will do what I need to do to get there. That's a deeper level of commitment. Can you see that? Let me know if that's making sense. Yes, I'm getting there, Allison. Awesome. So I find it to be a deeper level of commitment. And the other thing I find is I talk a lot about making decisions and how important they are. And that's why one of the things I coach my clients on is how to make good decisions in your business, how to become a good decision maker. But decisions by themselves can't stand, right? You have to make a decision and then you have to follow it up with action that makes sense to get you to the goal of whatever you've decided, right? For some people, if having a side gig is for you, right? And as I said in the beginning, it's not for everybody. But if having a side gig is the right choice for you, don't not do it because you think you're gonna be selling out. Like, notice that it's actually an action towards your goal, because it's a point where you have to recommit to your goal every single time you keep going down your path to your mission, to your vision, to your goal, to whatever it is that you're committed to in the future. And as you go, you have to keep taking action steps towards that goal. And some of those action steps is a commitment. When you take those action steps, it's a deeper level of commitment. It's an additional recommitting to that end goal. So can you see how it's creating a deeper level of commitment over and over and over again as you go forward? And that it's saying, big picture, I am going to get there. And right now I can see that I only have 2 more months left of living expenses, and that stresses me the F out. So I'm going to go get a side gig so that I know my living expenses are covered, so that then that part's done and eyes are back on the ball. Now I can focus more on that long-term vision. They support each other. Exactly. Allison says that makes a lot of sense. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So let me see if there was something else I wanted to say about that. You're still going in the same direction. So many people think it's a detour. Yeah, it's a detour if you say, I'm going to completely pause my business and go over here. And even that's not a detour. Sometimes I think we need resting moments. Right? But if you're just adding something to your life, they support one another. Getting a side gig can be an action in support of your long-term vision of your business. Getting a side gig can be a business supporting decision, not something that pulls you out of alignment, which is Allison's question, which is getting to is that my next myth? I think I'm going to skip. I have that one, Allison. Where's my notes? No, I can't find it. Okay. Bear with me, guys. Funny, I can't find it. Okay, I'm gonna get there. So what I'm gonna talk about Allison's question here because I really feel passionate about this. Allison says, I always worry about side gigs. I always think about side gigs, but worry I will put my focus there and use my energy there and don't have enough to do my business. Okay, I love that. And I think that is a really important thing to think about when you're assessing your situation. Because here's the main reason I think people get side gigs is because they are freaking out about their finances or worrying or concerned or starting to look ahead and go, my savings is running out. I may need to make another decision or shift something in my business right now to bring in some more money, right? Money is 9 times out of 10 the main reason to do it. So what I find in the people that need to choose side gig is that the amount of fear and worry and sometimes honestly paralysis. I have experienced this myself. You are not alone in being worried about your financial situation. Do you have any idea? Do you have any idea how exhausting and energy draining it is to worry desperately about how you're going to pay your bills in 3 weeks? I have a feeling a lot of people know this feeling, unfortunately, right? I was deeply, deeply, deeply stressed out about that when I lived in San Francisco. And especially when I first started my business. And so for me, the amount of energy and effort and worry and stress and fearful thoughts that I was spinning and spinning and spinning on. And in some cases, there's fear and then there's also reality. I couldn't figure, math didn't add up. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was already in debt. Okay. So having side gigs for me enabled me to take that and use that energy for other things. You can't really measure your energy, but I would argue that the energy that I spent freaking out about my finances, some of that energy went to my side gig and some of that energy went to my business. At the end of the day, more energy went to my business than it did before. I also noticed that because I wasn't busy enough, like I wasn't working, I don't even know. I mean, I'm thinking about different times in my business, but I wasn't working, let's say 40 hours a week on my business. So that also perpetuated me spinning and freaking out about money, right? Well, maybe I should do this in my business instead. Okay, well, maybe I should do that in my business instead, right? Like it oftentimes makes people make strategy decisions that don't make the right sense for them. But they think, well, I saw somebody else made some good money on that strategy, so maybe I should do that strategy, when it actually makes no sense for their business model. So it helps you to stop. So my point is, I was already spending this much time on my business per week. I kept spending about that much time on my business per week. I just stopped spinning and, doing other stuff. And I filled my week with side gigs, and that paid my bills. And I could relax. And when I was able to relax, hey, guess what? You can be more creative in your business. Hey, guess what? You can think more clearly and make good strategic decisions for yourself, not based on the fear of having to pay your bills tomorrow. You should never make a strategic decision for your business based on, am I going to have to, eat SpaghettiOs tomorrow? Right? So can you see how I agree with you, Allison, in some cases, and I'm going to get to this in a minute if I have time. You do have to look and reassess this decision over every quarter, every 6 months for your business, because it's not always the same answer. But so oftentimes I find that people are more efficient. I certainly was. They're more efficient in their business. They don't throw spaghetti against the wall so much because they only have this much time to focus on their business. And so they're more strategic, and they triage their work and they go, this is more important. This can wait. Instead of, I'm going to update my website for the 70th time this month, instead of just, I don't know, go doing something else that would give you a better shot at making money in your business. So I do feel you, Allison, that like there are, and I'm not saying that this is the right choice for you either, but there are people who the amount of stress about the finances is kind of running their life. And there is a level at which you've got to release the pressure valve on that so that you can be a smart business owner. Because when you're in chaos all the time in your mind, for whatever reason, money is often the reason, especially with new business owners, you're not doing yourself any favors, and you're oftentimes slowing down your progress. Because then your energy is not aligned. When you're getting on a discovery call with someone, you need the call, you need the sale. Instead of, you can be it's harder to be objective and stay neutral and just talk to the person and see if they're a good fit for you. I found myself doing things that, I can help you with that, even though that wasn't like my sweet spot. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I did it more than I would have liked because I just needed the money. Did I learn from that? Yes. Was it the wrong thing? No. But did it serve my business in the long term? No, not really either. So I think it's a myth to say that it will pull your energy out and that you won't have the ability to focus appropriately on both. I'm a big believer in like doing one thing at a time and focusing and being calm and strategic. So for me to say it's okay to handle two things, that's a big deal. I believe it's very possible and it can be done, and it doesn't need to spin you out. And so oftentimes the amount of fear that people have is winning out over everything. And if you're just move some of that fear attention to actually solving the fucking problem, then you can get back to growing your business at its own pace. And that's the other thing that I want to say. Like, one of the things that my coach says that I love is, hi, Kim, is the only thing that pressure works for is diamonds. And I find it to be so true. Yes, there are the rare unicorns who can just say, you know what, this business is going to make me money. And I have a coach, I have a web designer, I have a whatever. I know what my social media strategy is. I'm just going to go do this. Cold turkey, straight out of the gate, brand new business. And they make good money within the first few months. There are people that can do that. But did you hear all the other things that I said? Right? They had a coach, they had support, they knew where they were going, they knew what they were doing, they had a solid plan that wasn't just, I think this is going to work, right? Like, they had spoken to experts, they'd done their research. And I think most of the time also in those cases, most of those people also have some money in savings. They're not like starting at zero and expecting their business to be making them tons of money tomorrow or even pay the bills like that, right? The amount of pressure that we put on ourselves, that we put on our business, let me say it that way. You put pressure on your business to not be able to, I always say, like, your energy, your business has an energy to it, right? One of the things I work with my clients, especially in the Evolve program, is we connect to the energy of our business. We use meditation to do that, to connect to the energy of our business and speak to it like you would anybody else, and develop a deeper relationship with your business, because your business has energy and it has things to say. And it's a creative being, right? It's something you created, and it needs the time, just like a flower, to grow at its own pace, just like a human. We all have life lessons we have to learn. We can't just like come in and at like age 15, learn them all. Most people. So putting all that pressure on it to generate money, which by the way is only one of the things that it needs to do, isn't really fair. And so when we relieve the pressure, I'm seeing an Instapot. I don't know if you guys have an Instapot, but like, it's like a pressure cooker, and you turn it on and you like put the stuff in, you make a seal, you close the thing and you make a seal, and then it cooks like whatever. And then when the timer goes off, this little valve thing in the top just goes, and it pops. Does it go up or does it go down? Now I think it goes down. It goes down, and you hear this, all the steam slowly comes out of that valve into the kitchen, and it releases the pressure in the cooker thing. Looks like a crock pot. That's what a side gig can be for some people. That's what it was for me. Okay. Let me see if this makes sense. Okay. Yeah, the other thing that I find with side gigs, because I've been talking about this a lot for like new business owners, and I think this is a new business owner quandary, but I also think it's a quandary for people who have been established and are hitting a low patch, which I think is honestly sort of harder. Because if you're new, you can be like, okay, it's a new business. Like, I'm not supposed to have all this money yet. It's supposed to take time or whatever, right? But then when you already were making good money, and you're hitting a low period. And I feel like a lot of people hit that during COVID last year. I know a lot of people skyrocketed their business because their business was online, but people who had in-person businesses were like, I can't go to work. What am I going to do? Right. And that decision pops up periodically throughout the life cycle of your business at different points, or it can. And I think if you've had a dip that's longer than comfortable, if you then feel like, oh my God, like I've actually had somebody say, I'm hemorrhaging money. Like I'm hemorrhaging money out of my savings account. I'm starting to have to go into credit card debt because I've hit such a low dip. What do I do? Getting a side gig, even for a short period of time, can just stop the bleeding, right? Like, what do you do when you have a wound? You apply pressure on it, right? The first thing you have to do before you can really do anything else, I mean, you clean it, whatever, but you stop the bleeding. Then you can kind of get up and assess the wreckage and figure out what else to do, right? But you have to stop the bleeding because you only have so much blood in your body. And I think what I notice is when people hit a dip and it keeps going down, then they start to freak out about it, then they just keep going down. Like there is something that you must do to shift the energy. Just like when I'm seeing now, like think about sports, right? Like it's such a mind fuck when you're losing a game or when you're not performing well. I was just watching this really interesting, there's a coach's playbook, something on Netflix. I was just watching last night, Serena Williams, tennis coach. I totally geek out over this stuff. And he was talking about like, why do athletes tank? And he was talking about one of his, not Serena, but one of his clients, once she started to lose a game, a tennis match, after a certain, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 sets or something, once she started to lose, it was so painful for her to just be in that space of losing that she would throw the rest of the match, like stop trying to, she would just stop trying. Like technically she was still playing, but she would just stop hitting the ball because she just wanted it to be over and like move on to the next match. But you can't do that. You have to play the whole match. And also, why are you quitting? Like she basically was quitting in the middle of a match because her mindset was in the gutter. And that's what happens is you tank and you tank and you tank. And there's a point at which you start to freak out and then you keep tanking. So for some people, even if it's temporary, and it's always temporary, a side gig can stop the bleeding and give you a chance to breathe and take a minute and course correct. What's really happening? Is it the situation? Is it external, like COVID? Is it internal, like I'm kind of meh about this program that I'm offering now, and maybe that's why nobody's buying it. So what would make me excited to offer? Maybe I can create a new program while I've got this side gig, put the new program out, and then I'll be more fulfilled, and then I'll be able to bring more clients in, and then I can quit the side gig. So I feel like that's always a good option for people. And I also think too, like, sometimes I find entrepreneurs to be in this like martyrdom mindset of like, well, my business has to be everything and it has to do it now. And if it doesn't do it now, then something's wrong with me because I can't manifest, or the universe doesn't have my back, or I'm doing something wrong, or whatever myriad of stories you're telling yourself. And the truth is sometimes just getting a side gig is just taking care of yourself. Like it's not that big of a deal, which is why I'm spending most of my time talking about getting one instead of not having one. I'm going to get to this in a second. Oh, the energy thing, Allison. Finally, I'm finding my notes on the energy thing. I think personally, if it's the right decision for you, what you'll find when you do it is that you can find efficiency in your work week at a level that you couldn't before. So I that's what I find. I find that when you find the right balance, it has to be the right number of hours per week or month or whatever, that because you're decreasing your amount of time freaking out and you're making better strategic decisions, which means you're probably not going back and making bad decisions and then making less money and then having to recreate the wheel and start that over. All in all, you're more efficient. You can be more efficient in your week or your month on your calendar's perspective, but you can also be more efficient in terms of like long-term and strategic decisions. Does that make sense? Okay, and then let's talk about why would you quit your side gig, or why would you never get one in the first place? So I think a lot of people started their businesses out like I did, like either they were already in debt or they got laid off, or they just decided to do it. It was time and they just did it, and they wouldn't let the fact that they didn't have a ton of extra money sitting in savings stop them, which I love and commend you for. And I think that's why a lot of people start. I think that makes it slower to start. That's certainly what happened with me. It was slower for me to start because I didn't allow myself to go into further debt to hire the experts that I needed to get me up and running quicker. I was determined that I would figure it out myself. And there's a lot of love and lessons in that. None of that was wrong. But I guess my point is, I know the good, the bad. I know what it feels like to make good money in your business, and I know what it feels like to make zero. So if you have, and this is if you're starting out, and this is also if you're like if you've been a business owner for a while, if you have the money, whether it's coming in from your business or you have the money to invest in the right people to help you, and a lot of times time is money, right? Like if you have the money, let's say, how do I say this? I'm just going to use a starting out new business owner example. So, hi, Emily. So let's say you're just starting out, but you have a good chunk of money in savings. You can live for at least 6 months or so comfortably. If you assuming you allow yourself to use your savings, right? You can live and you know that you can invest in like a coach or an expert of some sort to help you get up and running. You don't need a side gig. Like to get a side gig is to say, I'm not going to allow myself to use my savings. Or to get a side gig is to say, and if your savings is for something else, then fine. But if you have savings that you're willing to use for your living expenses, then you're just going to slow yourself down, and you're going to give into some of the fear with a side gig. If from the start you're like up financially, right? Then I think it's great to just dive in, do it. Because also what you have with that money is you have time and flexibility and freedom and relaxation to really build it the way you want without having a time constraint of it has to make money by X date or I'm going to not be able to eat dinner. So I think if you have the time and money starting out to get your sea legs and to really experiment, because hey guys, running a business, like I've always said, it's a creative process. It's not a formula. Yes, there's strategies and things in place and we don't have to recreate the wheel, but it's not a formula, and everybody's business is different, just like everybody's life is different. And you have to get adjusted to making the right decisions for your business. And it's not usually an overnight thing. It's not that I think that you have to wait 2 years before you turn a profit either. So if you have money and time, those are usually a good reason to not have a side gig. And if you have the support you need. Right. I'm super big on hiring a coach, hiring an expert of whatever, if it's social media strategy or a web designer or whatever it is that you need to get yourself up and running. And then I think another really good time to and again, I think that it's important if you have a side gig or you're considering a side gig to just make a decision and stick with that decision for 3 to 6 months. And then let yourself reevaluate. Whatever amount of time feels okay to you to commit to. But that's also sometimes how we can allow ourselves to stop and support ourselves, because it doesn't mean getting a side gig doesn't mean, well, I guess I'll just have to do this forever. Shit, this is my life now. No, it just means you're going to do 3 to 6 months of this, and then you'll see what happens after that. So knowing that it's temporary, I think for so many people is like, that's a pressure release valve too. But if you're, let's say you have a side gig, and I'm going to make this up. Let's say 50% of your week is side gig and 50% of your week is your business. And you're maxed out on your business and you can't bring on any more clients or projects or create more products, whatever it is that you do, because you don't have any more time in your day, because your side gig is taking up the rest of your time. So if you're maxed out and you're bringing in all the income you can with the amount of time that you have, and you're bringing income in, then that's an opportunity to talk to your side gig, see if you can decrease your hours, see if there's a way to get creative, or think about letting it go. Because, right, there is definitely a point, and I see this with people, there's a huge choice point when you have a side gig. So a lot of this I've been talking about is like whether to get one. But this is like, if you already have one, you still have to make decisions ongoing on a regular basis about whether it still makes sense for you. And it's really this like tough push pull of like, well, if I quit, I won't have that pressure release valve. But if I quit my side gig, I won't have that pressure release valve. But if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm maxing out financially on my current job, on my business, excuse me, right? If you're hit a ceiling, and the only way you can figure, and this is because you've reassessed your business and you understand your business model and you know that there's no more wiggle room to be more efficient, or to hire someone to help you so that you can open up more space on your calendar or whatever, probably time to start moving towards letting it go, or letting go parts of it. Because at some point, and here's where the mindset piece comes in. I've been talking a lot of strategy and practical stuff, but here's where the mindset comes in. If you've listened to everything I've said today and you're like, yes, exactly, that's why I have a side gig. That's why I have a side gig. That's why I have a side gig. And you're bringing in enough money, but you're scared to let your side gig go because that's the crutch that you have, or you're scared of taking a risk, or you don't believe that your business can cover that remaining however many dollars per month that it's bringing in, and you don't believe in yourself, and you don't believe in your business, and you don't believe you can grow, then that's a reason to really do the mindset work, to look at your business in reality and make a really good business decision for your business, not based on fear. I'm big on taking risks, actually. I'm pretty big on taking risks. I think you have to invest in yourself. I think you have to invest in your business to really be able to take it to where you want to go. And that's scary and it's not easy. And I know that. And I am big on taking risks, but it's not to say like I don't have a problem taking them myself. I still have to work through my own mindset issues with taking risks, but I believe in taking risks when you do it from the right perspective, not when you're just like, sure, let's do this, right? When you make a clear decision, it might be scary. It's often scary. And that's oftentimes like part of my job is just to hold my client's hand and help them make a good decision and let them jump. And we're going to go together and it'll be fine. But I do think taking risks, like letting go of a side gig, is something that you have to trust yourself to be able to do. And if you are still with your side gig and you're, looking ahead in 3 months or in 6 months, you also have to trust yourself to make that right decision down the road. I'm making the right decision for me now. Today, I'm going to keep my side gig, but in 3 months, I'm going to reevaluate and I'm going to trust myself to make that right decision for myself then, based on the situation in that moment. Let's see. And there's other reasons that people are afraid to quit their side gig. I just gave a few examples of what I think I've noticed, but there are others for sure. I'm just checking the comments here. 6 months of savings and bills is worth a drink. It's totally, I know. You've got one and you're building slowly. 1 month of savings is great, but you also have income coming in from your business, right? Like, and your business is growing. Your business is growing like a freaking wildfire, a good wildfire. So, you're not trying to, I always used to say when I first left college and started my first corporate job, I wasn't making very much money. And at the end of every month, I would joke like, well, I'm going to the grocery store to get cans of tuna for dinner for the next 3 days until I get my paycheck, because that's all I can afford. And it was, and it's fine. It was fine. But I don't think that you're in that space, Alice. And Alice is an amazing web designer, you guys. Oh my gosh. So I think my point is, well, I have lots of points, but I think in summary, what I'd like to say is you always have to make the best decision for you, right? Hopefully today I helped you think through some of the factors and things to consider. These are just the most common things I found. You may have your own question, your own, sticking point. And if you do, and you're catching the replay, tag me in the comments and ask me a question, or let me know where it is that you're struggling, and I'll try to come back in and respond, because I think this issue is it can be such a debilitating issue. And I think for most people, it's more debilitating on the not getting a side gig when you need to get a side gig versus not quitting. That is I definitely see a lot of people in a standstill with that too. But I think the amount of stress that the people who, it's like, can you allow yourself to support yourself financially while working on your business, no matter where that other income comes from? Like, allow yourself to take care of yourself. As I was talking a minute ago about martyrdom, I don't think I ever circled back. Like, you don't have to be a martyr. You don't have to eat cans of tuna for 3 to 5 nights a week until you get the next check from your client. You don't have to live like that. Just because you started a business doesn't mean that you have to like go into like survival mode. And I think that's the energy that keeps people from going and getting a side gig and coming. That's the biggest piece, right? It pulls you out of survival mode. And what happens when you're out of survival mode? Like, for those of you that know the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, go research that. I'll probably do a live on that at some point, but it's a beautiful, I was a psych major. I had a psych sort of background with my master's degree. I'm a psych geek. And it's so true. The lower level, so imagine like the pyramid that you see, like the food pyramid, it's just a triangle or a pyramid. And the lower levels are the basic human needs. Like, if we don't have food and shelter, we can't then do the things on the top of the pyramid, like self-actualization and like learning better communication and like growing spiritually, right? And that's not to say you can't grow spiritually if you're poor, okay? But the hierarchy of human needs starts at the base level of food, water, and shelter. And so if you don't know where that's coming from, literally, if you're in that level, it's really hard to like be up here as a business owner and think strategically and make good decisions as a business owner and thrive. So what happens when you add, for some people, when you add a side gig, you're instantly operating higher up on the pyramid, and then you can think more clearly. Your creativity is shot when you're stressed. Have you noticed that? It's totally shot when you're stressed out. It's totally shot when you're in fear. Inspiration, creativity, and motivation go hand in hand and hand in hand. Inspiration, motivation, and creativity are critical components of running a business. And they pretty much, like, the air gets let out of their balloon when we are stressed out, going through personal stuff, sad, grieving, dealing with a toxic problem. Again, not to say that you have to have your whole life perfect in order to run your business well, right? But this is about making the right decision for you, taking care of yourself as a business owner. And I will tell you, this really does not stop, right? Because at the end of the day, you're kind of saying like, how am I going to spend my time and my money around my business? And the more, one of the things I've been working on is, as I'm growing, I really need to bring on teammates to support my business. But then that means I have to invest in paying for them and hope that the return on investment will shift, right? So there's always something to consider when you're growing your business financially and impact wise and otherwise. And these are just some things that I think got me to where I am. I mean, I personally, I would not still have a business if I didn't have side gigs. I would not still have a business. I would have had to quit because I couldn't figure out a way to make money fast enough to pay a San Francisco bills. And so I would have had to quit and do something else. And that was not an option for me, right? That was my commitment to myself. Fine, I will do whatever I need to do. I'm committed to this business. And I believe that over and over and over again, making those decisions over and over and over and over again to recommit to my business. Nope, I'm not going back to corporate. Nope, I'm not doing that. Yes, I'm going to get a side gig because now I'm even more deeply recommitted to this long-term plan that I have. I'm very, very grateful for mine. So I think if that's a thing for you, great. And again, this isn't, I spend a lot of time trying to help people get over the myths around why you should get a side gig, but it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. If you struggle with fatigue, it might not be for you. That was an issue that I had. If you have ADHD, I have ADHD. That's oftentimes a huge factor. I had to put a lot of things into place to support me to be able to handle both. So know yourself, know your business model, know what level of stress you can handle. And I mean, some people don't know how they're going to pay their bills and they're just not worried about it, right? So maybe you don't need a side gig if that's your situation, right? And again, this isn't necessarily just for people starting out. I think a lot of people start out at one level and then 6 months to a year later, it's a different story. And then again, I know a lot of people who had major dips in their business last year and they had to recreate their scenario, get a side gig because they couldn't physically go to work, right? Or provide their service because of COVID. So it's all okay. It's never wrong. You're always just learning. And I think this decision, just like anything else, is going to serve you as a business owner, because the better you can get at making the right decision for your business, the better you'll be able to make the next right decision for your business. And the more you'll be able to trust yourself as a business owner to get yourself to where you want to be. And that's ultimately where I stand in my space of service. I am serving anyone who has created a business or something that they believe is that they're passionate about, that's part of their purpose here on this earth, and the way that they need to be fulfilled and the way that they need to impact the world. And I'm committed to, if that's what you want to do, then we're going to fucking figure out a way for you to do that. And that's really, at the end of the day, why I do what I do and why I'm passionate about what I do and who I serve. And to that point, you guys, I am offering free coaching. I'm offering some free 30-minute sessions. I don't know how much longer I'm going to do it, just until my calendar fills up, and it's filling. But take me up on this opportunity. I will put the link here in the comments. If you have a question about a side gig or whatever, bring a challenge, bring a business challenge. I've got a questionnaire that I'll have you fill out in advance. But as long as you already have a business and you're willing to fill out a questionnaire, I would love, love, love to support you with a 30-minute coaching session. And these things, I mean, people are already making big shifts in their business as a result of these 30-minute calls. So don't underestimate the time that it takes to make a big shift in your business. I would love, love, love to support you in that. And it's not a sales call. It's 30 minutes of actual coaching. Like, it's full force focused on coaching you. So take me up on that. Let me just check the comments here and then I'm going to close. Yeah, Alice, I love your archery web design support, how they support each other. I love that. Okay. Dina, hi Dina. I didn't see you on, my dear. She says good stuff. Hi Renee. Alice says, I'm so thankful to have you as my business coach. I love, love, love working with you, Alice. And I believe so deeply in what you're doing. I really, really do. And I don't actually coach just anybody. And that's not to say that I'm like being pretentious, but I coach the people whose work I believe in deeply and that I believe we're a good fit for. And that because I really, Alice can attest to this. I'm a partner. Like, I take a partnership approach to coaching. I am there with you. Like I said, like, we take the risk together and we jump off the cliff together. I'm there, right there with you. Like, yes, you have to put out the money and it's your business and it's your decision, but I am a partner in that. And I only will offer one-on-one coaching to people that I think that I can create that type of relationship with. And I love doing that with you, Alice. Love, love, love it. Hi, Renee. Love all my clients, actually. Okay, guys, so I'm going to hop. Thank you so much for listening. Next week, I am doing a part 2. So we did a couple of weeks ago, I did a DIY. Should you DIY a part of your business or hire an expert? And I had so much more that I wanted to say, and I had a couple other questions that came out of that one. So I'm going to do a part 2. So next week is DIY versus hiring an expert. And I will see you there. Talk soon. Much love.